All right, today we're going to look at two market moves that were so big they grabbed all the headlines. And we're using some really sharp analysis that came straight from the Sharpe 2 trading desk to figure out what was really going on. Because as you're about to see, our gut feeling about what makes a big move, well, it can be seriously wrong. So just look at these numbers. On one hand, you've got SLV, the silver ETF, which put in an incredible 51% gain over 17 days. Then you have BOIL, the natural gas ETF, which just went nuclear. It doubled, a 100% gain in just 5 days. I mean, both of these are just absolutely wild rallies. Okay, so here's the big question for today. Looking at these two, which one do you think was the real statistical freak of nature, the one that just shouldn't have happened? Was it that massive, grinding 51% rally in silver? Or was it the 100% explosion in natural gas? Go on, make a guess. Lock it in. To figure this out, we first have to get to know our two main characters here. Because trust me, they are not the same kind of player, and that difference is everything. So SLV is pretty simple, right? It's an ETF that just tracks the price of silver. Straightforward. But BOIL? Oh, BOIL is a totally different animal. It's a leveraged ETF, which means it's built to amplify the moves in natural gas. It has a reputation for being, well, absolutely explosive. So your gut is probably telling you that a 100% move, while huge, is kind of just BOIL being BOIL. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. It's this idea that just looking at a big percentage number can really, really fool you. The bad guy in our story today is this little cognitive trap called absolute return bias. It's that voice in our head that sees plus 100% and just goes, wow, without stopping to ask the single most important question, what kind of risk did it take to get that return? This is, hands down, the best analogy for this. And it comes from the analysts at Sharpe 2. 100% return is like a car going 200 miles an hour. Is that fast? Well, it depends. If you're doing that in a school zone, it's a once-in-a-lifetime impossible event. But on a Formula One racetrack, that's just what you're supposed to do. To understand the return, you have to know the speed limit. And in markets, the speed limit is volatility. So let's do it. Let's actually run the numbers just like the analysts on the Sharpe 2 trading desks wrote this morning. We're going to find out what the speed limit was for both SLV and BOIL and see which one really shattered it. Okay, first up, SLV. During that big 17-day rally, things got pretty bumpy. The actual realized volatility, the real speed limit on the road, spiked to an annualized 70%. So, this wasn't a quiet country lane. This was a pretty wild highway. Now, when you take that 51% return and you adjust it for that 70% volatility, you get a z-score of 2.8. And look, a 2.8 sigma event is definitely rare. We're talking something that should happen about once every 200 times. But it happens. It's not a miracle. It was just a big move happening in an already very volatile environment. Now let's turn to BOIL. During its 5-day moonshot, its realized volatility was a completely face-ripping 103%. I mean, this thing wasn't just on an F1 track, it was on a drag strip during a hurricane. The context here was pure, unadulterated chaos. But here's the kicker. Even when you account for that insane 103% volatility, the 100% return works out to a z-score of almost 7 sigma. A 7 sigma event. That number, it's basically theoretical. It has odds of something like 1 in a trillion. It's not supposed to happen. Ever. This tells us that even for BOIL, this move was completely, utterly off the charts. Now, I know all this sigma talk can feel a little abstract, so let's make it real. We're going to use what's called a Monte Carlo simulation to look at 10,000 different possible futures for each of these assets. So check this out. On the left, that's SLV. You see that big cone? That's 10,000 possible price paths. Now, the orange lines are the ones that actually made it to our 51% target. And you can see a decent number of them got there. It was possible. Now, look at BOIL on the right. That blue target line, our 100% gain, is just floating out there in space. It's nowhere near that gray cloud of 10,000 attempts. It's a statistical ghost. This picture says it all. So the move was a true freak event. But the next question is, did it catch the pros completely off guard? Well, for that, we can look for clues in the options market. The options market is incredible because its entire job is to price future risk. Traders use a metric called implied volatility, or IV, to bet on how much something is going to swing around. So if you see a really high IV, it means the market is basically bracing for impact. It's expecting fireworks. And would you look at this? For SLV on the left, the market was pricing in about 80% implied volatility, which was pretty darn close to the 70% that actually happened. The market saw that coming. But for Boyle, on the right, the options market was screaming bloody murder. Implied volatility was at 135%. The market knew Boyle was a powder keg, and it was pricing in the chance of a massive, reality-bending explosion. And this is such an important lesson for anyone who trades. When you see sky-high implied volatility like that, it is not free money for selling options. It is a giant flashing neon sign from the smartest people in the room that says, danger ahead. The market was warning everyone this could happen. So let's put it all together. Which move was the real surprise? The table makes it crystal clear. SLV's 51% gain was a 2.8 sigma event. Rare, for sure. But Boyle's 100% gain, that was a nearly 7 sigma event. A true statistical anomaly. The 100% gain was the fake black swan. So we'll leave you with this thought. A big return, by itself, doesn't really tell you the whole story. It's the return compared to the risk that really matters. So the next time you see one of those jaw-dropping headlines about a 100% gain, are you just going to be impressed by the number, or are you going to ask about the volatility?